Hey, welcome back. Good afternoon, and welcome to today's presentation, Exploring the Maya World with Bella Guatemala Travel. This is Rick Tennant, San Diego Chapter of PATA. Today, we take you to another PATA Pacific Rim country, and that being Guatemala. Before introducing you to our two guests and their presentation, here are a few housekeeping requests. We are recording this presentation, and you'll be able to upload it soon to our new YouTube channel. Please, as a courtesy to our presenters and attendees, mute yourself. Muting gives everyone on the call a clear chance to listen to our presenters without any background noise. As always, we encourage everyone to ask questions, so please use the question and answer box at the bottom of your screen. There will be two presentations today, and after our second presentation, we will go over all your questions. But before we start, here are a few upcoming announcements and PATA presentations. Tomorrow, we had originally scheduled Star Clippers 2021 with Beth Lindsley Elwood, but with the continuing changes of their operating schedule, all of us thought at this time it would be best to better postpone, not cancel, at least for now. However, we are working on two new presentations from Sri Lanka and Japan. These two editions will be separate Zoom events, so check the website for their addition to the schedule. May we will celebrate National Travel Advisor Day. More information to come on that. May 19th, no passport, no worries. This will be a Zoom meeting with domestic suppliers. Here's where the fun starts. June 22nd, our original postponed twice event, What's Next 2021, kickoff with Tailgate Trade Show is now once again, rescheduled for San Marcos and San Diego. August 18th, Honeymoons and Exotic Escapes at Tom Ham's California Room, San Diego. Are we not optimistic? October 19th, our 5th annual Cruise Night 2021, Bali High Restaurant, San Diego. December 9th, and closing out the year, our annual San Diego Travel Industry Holiday Party at Marina Village in San Diego. Take a few minutes to check out your San Diego PATA website at www.sanpata.org for more information. I would like to offer a warm welcome to the owner of Bella Guatemala, Elsie Yejanoy. Hopefully I pronounced that close. And presenting today will be Ann Flower and Brent Weinbrenner, who will be sharing experiences of Guatemala and what Bella Guatemala can offer your guests. May I now introduce our two guests, but before, I'd like to introduce Elsie from Bella Guatemala Travel, if she'd like to introduce herself.
Need to unmute her.
She has to unmute herself.
Elsie, hold your space bar down while you speak, and it will unmute you.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, Elsie.
You're good.
Hello. I'm Elsie Yejanoy, CEO of Bella Guatemala Travel. We established Bella Guatemala Travel in 2005 to show the world the beauty of Guatemala. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you, Elsie. Our first presenter will be Ann Flower. Ann handles the public relations for Bella Guatemala Tours, Travel, and assists with marketing. She has her own agency specializing in travel, tourism, and hospitality. She has represented the Los Angeles and San Diego Travel and Adventure Shows, Marina del Rey Visitors Bureau, Guam Visitors and Convention Bureau, and one and only Familia in Cabo San Lucas, among others. She has visited and traveled throughout Guatemala 8 times. Presenting after Ann will be our next presenter, who will be Brent Weinbrenner. Mr. Weinbrenner is an expert photographer who leads the Bella Guatemala Travel Photography Tour and is on hand today to provide details about this tour. Brent has traveled to over 70 countries to photograph her lonely planet and has taught at the Brooks Institute of Photography. He is also a filmmaker and actually shot all the video that you're viewing today. His Rizzoli book, The Splendor of Cuba, was recognized as one of the 10 best books of the year in 2011. May I now present Anne in our presentation.
Hi, and thank you for having us again today. We're very excited to be here. I'm just going to share my screen and start. I have a PowerPoint to share with you. One moment. By the way, this screen you're seeing is in Guatemala. It's on a lagoon. So I'm glad that Elsie was here today to introduce herself, because she is the leading force behind Bella Guatemala Travel. She founded the company in 2005 because of her, while she was born in Guatemala, she grew up here in Los Angeles, and she wanted to share her passion for the country, and had started the firm, the agency, in 2005. It specializes in premium tours. Everything is very high end. The hotels that we use are luxury. It's all private transportation. The guides are first class, experts in their field, and safety and comfort is of the utmost importance to Elsie in terms of her guest. Guatemala itself is a fascinating country. It's stunningly beautiful, and I think greatly unappreciated. Not that many people have been there. There are other countries in Central America that have certainly gotten, more publicity and more attention, but Guatemala is considered one of the most beautiful countries, if not the most beautiful country in Mesoamerica. It has 30 volcanoes. It has vast lakes. It has a coastline on both the Pacific and the Atlantic coast. It has the highest concentration of Mayan ruins in Central America, hence the world. And it has a living Maya culture, thanks to the 24 indigenous groups of people that live there and continue on the traditions of their ancestors. It has many different ecosystems and, like I said, just really beautiful countryside, as well as a couple of remarkable cities, which you'll hear about. I thought I would jump right into our tour descriptions. Elsie has designed all of these tours, with their clients in mind and their interest. And one of the things that she does is she personally visits every hotel, every attraction, gets to know the people that she's going to be taking her guests to meet. So it's a very curated experience, and her specialty is Guatemala. She doesn't do, obviously we venture into Honduras a bit because of the Maya ruins that are there, and Capan with some of the tours, and we also include Belize, but she is so knowledgeable about the country, and it really shows in the product. If you have a client who is interested in archaeology and ancient history, this tour, the Lost Kingdoms of the Maya tour, is really quite unique and special. It includes a visit to the remote Mirador Basin, which is the largest concentration within Guatemala, also within Mesoamerica, of Maya ruins. It's been excavated for years, and they have really only scratched the surface, but it does include the the largest pyramid in the world, in the Mayan world. And the way we get there, because it's quite remote, is by flying in by helicopter. I actually have a video here to show you, which I can talk about. These are the tops of some of the pyramids. This happens to be in Tikal, which is also included in the trip. But when we go to the El Mirador location, we actually meet with Dr. Richard Hansen, who is the lead archaeologist. He's been excavating it. That's him right there for 30 years. And he meets with all of Bella Guatemala guests and shows him personally some of the amazing things that he's discovered. It's been some real breakthrough stuff. This tour also includes a visit to Yasha, which is one of my favorites. It's not that visited. You can go there and have the whole place to yourself. It's in a jungle, but it's excavated. These are some of the types of ruins you would see there. And there's, yes, there are monkeys and all sorts of bird life. This video right here is some Maya practicing some of their ancient customs with shamans. This tour also visits, as I mentioned, Copan, because it's in the south of the country, just across the border in Honduras, and it has its own unique style of artwork that is renowned. This trip also goes to Lake Atilan, which is this beautiful, vast lake in the highlands where the living Maya still live. And it goes to Antigua, of course, which is the famous UNESCO World Heritage Baroque colonial town. It's only a short distance actually outside of Guatemala City. Another tour is the textile and crafts tour. If you have clients who are interested in culture and indigenous artwork and crafts, this would be the tour for them. The trip involves going, well, hands-on workshops, again, in Antigua, which is in itself just a fabulous place to visit. It's filled with ruins and some functioning churches from the 16th century. It has cobblestone streets. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. There's fabulous restaurants and markets, and it's a very popular place to visit. But there's also some great markets there, and there's a chance to participate in some different types of workshops. This trip also includes a visit to, again, Lake Atilan and the town of Panajachel. And around this lake are several villages. Again, each one is very distinct. The tour visits some of the collectives, the women's weaving collectives, and again, gets to see demonstrations, and it's a chance to purchase weavings and things directly from the women who make them. And you can see and learn about how they grow the cotton themselves, and they turn it into yarn, and then they weave it and they dye it with all natural dyes. It's quite fascinating. My backdrop, I hope you can see it actually, is all Maya contemporary fabric woven on backstrap looms, which is the way they've been doing it for centuries. And I purchased all these within Guatemala, I think all around Lake Atilan, actually. Every town, every village, every indigenous group has their own style of weaving, which helps identify them. And then in the same thing with the women, where they wear blouses, which help to identify what town they're from. And this trip allows people to go and buy directly from the women who created these works of art, and includes a visit to Chichicastenango, which is very famous. You may have heard of it. It's the largest market in Central America. Again, here are some examples of some embroidery that I bought there. This one is covered with birds. Guatemala is very known for its bird life. And this shirt would be specific to one village because of the colors and the embroidery on it. So that trip explores, that's its main focus. Let me go to the next. This is there's music on this, and I'm not quite sure why, because I muted it. I hope you can still hear me over it. It is the Day of the Dead is celebrated in a very unique way in Guatemala. It's this is in this town called Santiago Zacatepec, and at this cemetery, the cemetery there, they construct these giant kites. They're 30 feet tall. They don't fly, but they take some months and months to prepare. And it's a competition. They also make kites that they can fly of various sizes. This is them putting up one of these giant kites. And you can buy food and drink and celebrate. And I'm going to stop that because of the music. I think it's probably distracting. That trip also includes a visit to Antigua, which is sort of a must-see, and it goes to Tikal National Park, which is up in the north. Easter week is another tour that is centered around a holiday celebration, Holy Week. In this case, it takes place within Antigua. It's one of the biggest celebrations of its kind. The religious groups within Antigua and the surrounding area build these spectacular floats, and they parade them all week, almost around the clock, throughout the streets of Antigua. And additionally, they make these gorgeous alfombras, which are carpets made out of colored sawdust, flowers, vegetables, and they cover all the cobblestone streets of Antigua. And they create them, and then the floats come through and trample them. So it's very ephemeral, but it's part of the celebration and part of this religious experience. It's something really, really interesting to behold. This trip also includes a visit to Chichicastenango, because they also celebrate there in a smaller way, but in a different way, and it's again fascinating. It includes a visit to Lake Atilan, again, and a chance to visit some of the villages around it and stay in Panajachel, which is actually a really fun little town with great restaurants and stores and galleries, and it's quite cosmopolitan. That tour also goes to Tikal. Rainforest Ruins and Reefs is a unique tour. It goes through a different part of the country, to the Atlantic coast, to Livingston, which is, it has a different type of culture. It's, I'm gonna play the video here. It's Afro-Caribbean in its influence. There's a river, the Rio Dulce, which is spectacular. This is it here. And there's caves, the Candelaria Caves, which is part of the, touring those is part of this tour. There's a trip in to see some of the Maya ruins within Belize, and then it ends with a stay at Kayak Kalker and for snorkeling and scuba diving and sailing and whatever your clients desire. It's some of the really beautiful marine reserves in the world. This here is back on the Rio Dulce, and it's again, it's very unique from the highlands and the people who live up in the mountains of Guatemala. As you can see, it's an incredibly lush country. Photography tour. We are lucky enough to have Brent with us, who leads this tour. And Brent, you're there, I see you.
Yep.
I'll let
So-
you talk about this one.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So I've also had the great good fortune to go to Guatemala 7 or 8 times. I'd lived in another Central American country in the mid-90s and had some bad experiences and swore I would never go back to Central America. And so I was blown away when Elsie gave me the opportunity to go to Guatemala, and I've just fallen completely in love with the place. So the photo tour, our emphasis is really on getting people into locations that they wouldn't otherwise be able to get behind the scenes and to really get where the good pictures are and the opportunities for pictures are. So it's designed a little bit differently. The days start early and end late, and there's a teaching component to it. I did teach at a photography school, and so we have some short lectures and assignments to go with it. So it's really oriented towards people who are interested in improving their storytelling skills, their visual storytelling skills. And the guides take tremendous pride in the challenge of finding out of the way opportunities. So it is really oriented towards people who have a desire to come back home with good images and to buff their skill set. And we orient the tours. The date has not been fixed for this coming year, but we'll orient it around a large festival so that that'll be the anchor point for it.
Some of those images that you just saw at the end, those were taken in Chichicastenango during Holy Week, for instance. And I think Antigua as well. Thank you, Brad. Custom tours. Elsie can design any type of tour for your clients that their heart desires. If somebody has a small group or a family group and just wants to travel with their family or their friends, all that can be arranged really with a minimum of 2 people, up to quite large groups. She's organized larger groups for some corporate events as well. Things that aren't on the tours that we saw today, like deep sea fishing, which is really good on the Pacific coast, is something that can be arranged. Whitewater rafting and other soft adventure tour type activities. Bird watching, Guatemala, Central America, known for its birds. And she can also work with people's budgets, depending on what type of hotel they want to stay at. Whereas the organized tours are, all again at very high end. Really depending on what your clients are looking for, that can be arranged. But it still includes, private transportation at all times, cars and drivers, because again, safety and comfort is the main priority for Elsie. I mentioned here on this card here that, one of the things, because Elsie knows the country so well and has been doing this for so long. She has unique access to individuals and experts that will inform the trips and make them so much richer for people, because you get this unique access, you get to talk to experts. So again, if there's something in particular somebody's looking for, that can all be arranged. Cooking classes, or a deep dive into chocolate making, this is where chocolate began, was in Central America. The guides, we cannot praise our guides more highly. One of the things, again, that Bella Guatemala Travel brings to the table is consistency, and the guides have been with her for many, many years. Emilio Falaci, here on the right, is the specialist in the natural world and ecosystems and birding, and he's also quite fluent, with the Maya, Maya archaeology and the culture of the people. Jose Antonio Gonzalez in the middle, that is his focus. He's an archaeologist, and he's so knowledgeable. He can read the glyphs on the stone monuments and tell you what they say, and talk about the myths of the Maya. It's just fascinating, the breadth of his knowledge. And then Olga Ricci is involved with the textile tour, and is an expert in Maya culture, contemporary Maya culture, and weavings and embroidery and the meanings. And she is incredibly informative about that aspect. The hotels, I have a couple of pictures here of some of the hotels that Bella Guatemala Travel uses. Again, just beautiful properties. There's no compromise whatsoever. Hotel Voluntaku up here is in the Petan region, the jungle. It's one of the hotels you would stay at if you're visiting Tikal, or the Lost Kingdoms of the Maya tour when you go to the Mirador Basin. That's located up there, and it is on a spectacular lake. The picture next to it here is Las Lagunas. It's on a lagoon, also in the Petan in this region. We've stayed there and gone to the Mirador Basin, and when we returned, we just flew right into the property and landed on their private helicopter pad. And straight to dinner. They have an excellent chef, by the way. And the rooms they're suites. They're spacious. They overlook the lagoon. There's really, it's a small hotel. I would say 15 bungalows looking out over the water. And it has very much an out of Africa feel to it. Below is Hotel Atilan. This is lake. It looks out. This is their pool overlooking over Lake Atilan, which is surrounded by 3 giant volcanoes. It is stunning any time of the day. Sunrise and sunset being particularly magical. And then the villages I spoke of are, they surround the lake over here. But at the end of the day, this is where we come to. And it has also, this hotel has beautiful gardens and peacocks and macaws, and it's quite enchanting. This property is in Antigua. It's Hotel Porta Antigua. It's often used by Elsie for her guests. Rooms have fireplaces. It has a gorgeous courtyard, again, with birds and tropical plants, and it's incredibly comfortable, and has, like all of them, has fabulous food. Here's a few things to know. The group tours start at $4,195 per person, double occupancy. It includes all meals, all transportation within the country, so the helicopter to, Mirador Basin, and the flights from Guatemala City to call, that is all included. Custom tours can be done, again, depending on your client's budget. They can be done at a reduced price. BGT provides, round the clock support. It's, there's always guides and drivers with the group. And if you wanted specifics, obviously, please visit our website. And that rounds that up. I'm happy to answer questions. I'm hoping you have some. Rick?
Okay, I had to turn the mute off. We did get a question from Katie, and I wanted to go ahead. Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you either. Katie was asking when the dates for the photo tour would be in, and Brent came back within a week working out logistics. Okay. Do we have any other questions?
I would like to have seen a map. Anne, do you have a map on one of your slides where you can point out these aspects that you talked about today?
I don't, but hang on a second.
So
While we're waiting on Anne, when you're out there on tour, obviously, are you looking at high-end type of photographers or novice photographers that are going along with you, beginners, or all sorts?
It'd be for anybody who's serious about improving their skills at whatever level. So like I said, we'd be starting early in the morning and ending later in the day. So there is really no level. It's more the level of seriousness and interest that somebody has.
Okay. So
Thought I might
what
have a
sort
map.
of equipment are?
Anyway, I thought I have a map, but I'm not sure where it is. It would have to have been a show and tell. And I thought maybe I could get something up on the internet here, but I don't think I can get it big enough.
Did you have a question about what type of equipment?
Yes. When your members of your tour are coming on board, are they bringing the huge Nikons, the really expensive type stuff, or are they using their iPhones, or what sort of equipment would be cool, in other words, to bring? If I had my iPhone, would that be acceptable?
As long as you bring your brain along, yes, because
Okay.
you could take great pictures with an iPhone. If you're interested in birds, then you're going to need that longer lens. But I'm very much equipment agnostic and more about the thinking process and the hunting for pictures. So it's really more the thought process that goes into it before you pull a trigger. And with the technology today, you can take great pictures with virtually anything as long as your eyes are open. So it's not a technology driven class at all. It's more about seeing.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know, because I think the point I'm trying to make is that it almost sounds like anybody could go on your photo tour and not be afraid that, geez, am I going to be the only one with an iPhone and everybody else is going to have these really expensive long lens Nikons with them. And so that's good to know. Did we have any other questions?
I think Carmelita had a question. Carmelita, ask your question.
Carmelita,
press
did you have
the
a question?
space bar. Carmelita, ask your question by pressing the space bar and speaking. I think she keeps losing her connection. That's the problem.
Jill, I found a map of Guatemala. I could, if I shared my screen, you might be able to see it.
Okay.
Would that be, let me just do this quickly.
Yeah, let's go
Can
ahead
you
and do that, and then hopefully we can get Carmelita's questions on here.
Can you see, can you see that?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
So if you can follow my arrow, right here is Guatemala City where you fly into. Antigua, which pretty much every tour goes to, because again, the spectacular, 16th century, Baroque Spanish architecture is, you don't want to miss it. It's right here. It's literally half an hour, 45 minutes from the city. That's there. Chichicastenango, which is the big market town. It's just north. The lake, Atilan, the fact that you can see it shows you how big it is. It's 50 square miles. It's actually formed by a caldera of a giant volcano, even though it's surrounded by what we would consider giant volcanoes. It was beyond anything. It's here. And then when we go to visit Tikal and Yaxchal and some of the major ruins, including the Mirador Basin, we go back to Guatemala City and we fly to Flores, which is up here. This is called the Petan. It's the northern state. And this is where many of the major archaeological sites are located. And if you're on a trip that goes to Copan, again, we fly from Guatemala City here across the border to Honduras because it's just faster. And I think that's by chartered flight on that. So again, it's all very, personal, private transportation in most of these cases. And this is, by the way, this here is the Atlantic coast. Puerto Barrios is right by Livingston, and the river system is here. And of course, Belize is just to the north. So it's just a hop, skip, and the jump to go and then stay on one of the islands and take in some snorkeling and sailing and scuba diving or what have you. Does that help?
That helps tremendously. And I liked what you just said, where you can combine Guatemala with Belize. It's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small enough country. What's one of the things that's fascinating. It's so varied in its terrain. There's so many different types of things to see in terms of, geography, but you can easily get around and see most of the country within a week. Some of the trips are longer, 10 days, or it's quite typical because, you take it all in. It's just a fascinating country, and that's partially because of the Maya people are so proud of their culture, and it's 50% of the population, these indigenous groups, and they still dress in their traditional clothing, especially the women, and it's amazingly colorful. It's hard to take it all in on your first trip.
Carmelita's question was, what kind of air service is there to Guatemala from Southern California?
Delta flies nonstop and I think United maybe. So Delta we've often flown Delta. It's only a 4.5-hour flight. I mean, it's an easy trip to make, to tell you the truth, you know. So yeah, there are other airlines. Elsie, if you wanted to chip in on that, but mainly I've always flown Delta. United, I know, goes maybe out direct from Texas. Brent, do you have any knowledge?
Brent, you need to unmute yourself. Hold your space bar down and speak.
It's not working, Brent. I can see you're muted. Your little microphone. Take your arrow down to the bottom of the.
I'm holding my space bar down.
There you go.
Avianca has had direct service in the past as well. So.
And I actually looked on the Delta site today just to confirm that because I knew it was only like 4 hours. I just wanted to confirm that. But they are, you know, Rick, did you want me to mention anything about the, you know, restrictions in getting into the country or right now?
Yes, please. Yeah, that was the question I was going to ask when you were done, but restrictions plus any COVID requirements or anything like that, and how safe are the clients going down and coming back and that? Exactly.
Guatemala is accepting visitors. They asked that, and this is all on the U.S. State Department website too, as well, that when you arrive, you have to have had a COVID test within the last 72 hours, sorry, or have completed your vaccine cycle, or have recovered from COVID already and within the last 3 months and have, you know, a doctor's note. And in the US, you have to, again, take a COVID test within 3 days before you travel. And there are clinics within Guatemala. There's excellent hospitals, and Elsie is already has a relationship with one. And for the time being, until we get completely through this, she is covering that cost of that test before her guests get on a plane back to the States. And that can be done right in Guatemala City. In terms of safety, like I said, all the hotels are really 4- and 5-star properties. The hotel we stay at in Guatemala City often is a Westin. They follow all the protocols that you would see here in the States in terms of, you know, triple cleaning and wiping down, you know, sanitizing, touch points, all of the above. All those things are taken care of. And again, you're not really taking public transportation. It's all private, and so everything is cleaned, and it's just the groups. The groups, by the way, all these organized groups, I don't know if I mentioned it, there's never more than 16 people in a group. That's the limit.
Relatively, and I know every country has crime, but is relatively Guatemala a pretty safe country to travel in?
I have never felt unsafe in Guatemala. I had not even a whisper, you know. Obviously, we stay in the best part of town and the best hotels, but we go into public markets. People are warm and friendly. They have tourist police, you know, so there is a presence. I think the country has as much of an interest as any developing nation to encourage tourism and want everything to be as seamless and safe as possible for their visitors. But we've never had any problem whatsoever.
I used to live in Chicago, so I can say this. I equate it to going to Illinois. There are certain neighborhoods in Chicago that you wouldn't go to, and the same is true in Guatemala City and maybe a couple other towns, but the guides are really knowledgeable. And I personally, with all the camera gear I've carried, haven't felt threatened, and I have in other places, but you know, I'm sure there are problems, but we know they know where to go. So.
Okay. Carmelita, I see you up. Unmute yourself and give us your question, please. Okay. Do the airlines out of LA, does pricing include airfare? Or do you do airfare, or we need to come up with our own airfare?
We can certainly arrange for it, but it's not included because Bella Guatemala Travel brings, people from all over the country, take her tours, and of course, prices vary and times vary and class of travel varies. So that is the one thing that's not included, but air travel within the country is.
Okay. Have another question. Do you offer any fam trips?
We would love to offer fam trip. I think Elsie is in discussions with Guatemala Tourism about that. It's been an odd year, obviously. So I think we're going to revisit that later this year.
Okay, and see if we have any other questions that we can get your help on. And you already talked about Air California, and we decided it was Delta, United, and I think airline included. Somebody missed the first part of the call. Do we have what was the third airline? Or
Avianca?
Yep.
Avianca. Okay. Air Service United, Avianca, and Delta, nonstop from LAX, American connections via Dallas. Thank you, Leslie.
I was just going to look it up.
Okay. I think one of our members just came to our help. Then Melinda was talking about possibly coming to you to put a fam together for PATA, maybe when we're all back together doing this. Do we have any other questions that like to know about Guatemala while we have it? Okay, with that then, I thank you, all three of you, so very, very much for your presentations. They were, again, absolutely fantastic. And I think all of us were really looking forward to hearing and learning a lot about Guatemala, much more than we know now. And you're probably right, there is one country in Central America we all seem to know, but it's nice to get to know a little bit more about Guatemala as well. So thank you again, Anne, Brent, and
Elsie.
Elsie.
I don't know if
Again,
she's still here.
thanks to Jill Powell for arranging this. Oh, okay. For arranging this opportunity with Bella Guatemala and Cadell Felton, our producer, having the opportunity to present to our San Diego PATA members. We will let everybody know as soon as we can about Sri Lanka and Japan are finalized. So keep checking the website, as you will want to not miss either one of these presentations. So with that, I wish everybody a good evening, and thank you for your time, and thank you for attending.
Thank you so much, Rick, for having us.
Thanks.
You're very welcome. Thank you, all three of you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.